Hello and welcome to my channel, Food for HNM, where we talk about all things Holy Bible. I'm Jimmy Chan, a Jimmy Chan. As you may heard, a Jimmy Chan is just a human being, an earthling. We are reading through the Old Testament of the Holy Bible. We are now in the book of Judges. Judges 6, it is titled, or this section is titled, Gideon. The Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord, and for 7 years he gave them into the hands of the Midianites. You know, to me this is odd because if you remember, there was a guy named Moses, and he went to Midian and he married a Midianite woman, Zipporah. So the Midianites, they sort of turned their back on the Israelites because Moses, you know, he has died at this point in the story. The Midianites sort of should be, you know, like a friendly clan or friendly people to the Israelites because, you know, they would respect Moses. And one of theirs, you know, Zipporah married Moses, who, you know, was an Israelite. So the Midianites, because the power of Midian was so oppressive, you know, they're very mean to the Israelites. They probably shouldn't have been. The Israelites prepared shelters for themselves in mountain clefts, caves and strongholds. Whenever the Israelites planted their crops, the Midianites, Amalekites, and other eastern peoples invaded the country. That's not nice. You know, whenever they started to plant, you know, plants, their crops, they invaded. They camped on the land and ruined the crops all the way to Gaza, and did not spare a living thing for Israel, neither sheep nor cattle nor donkeys. So they also tried to kill their flocks and herds, their animals that they ate, and donkeys they rode. You know, we have cars, they had donkeys. They came up with their livestock so that whenever they would invade, they would bring their livestock. You know, that's meat for them to eat. You know, when you are going to war, you know, they had swords and shields, so they probably brought their barbecue with them. You know, they brought their livestock, their meat. You know, when they're going to war, you know, we need to bring our meat because we need protein to fight, to be strong. So when they came to invade Israel, they brought their livestock, their meat, and their tents like swarms of locusts. That means there were so many of these guys, these bad guys, these Midianites, Amalekites, and other people. It was impossible to count them. Or their camels. They had camels. Not the cigarettes. These are the actual, you know, on the camels, there's that animal that looks funny. That's what they had, these funny looking horses. You know what they used to call camels? Something like a desert horse, you know. But back then they didn't quite have horses. You know, just like we have so many breeds of dogs. Hello, dogs. Shout out to you, big dogs. If there are any cats out there, you know, um, a camel is, I think those are only found in something like the Middle East, where right now there's a lot of war, like Israel and the Middle East. I think that camel, they are only found in that area. But just like we have so many kinds of dogs, and it took a long, long time. Imagine a long time ago, there were only a few kinds of dogs. But now there's so many different, dogs of all sizes, and their fur's all different, and even their faces from dog to dog can look so different, in a good way. They're all handsome and beautiful dogs. But a long time ago, there weren't really horses, there were donkeys. So it's the same thing. Like now, there are many different kinds of horses, tall ones and short ones. They're like these ponies. They're called Shetland ponies. Some of them are different colors. They're like white colored horses and gray, and some of them have like spots. And then some horses are brown, and some are like dark brown, and some are like orange. And of course, there's the black horse. Those are usually considered the scariest ones, the black horses. They're like wild. They're like, like you can't ride it. They're like, get on my back. The black horses. And they even have these gigantic horses called Clydesdales. And they have furry legs. Right now, we have so many different kinds of horses. But I think a long time ago, this was a long time ago, they only had donkeys, so from these donkeys probably came all these different kinds of horses. But they had camels, these bad guys, and they invaded the land to ravage it. To ravage it is to violently mess it up, almost like raping, Midian so impoverished the Israelites that they cried out to the Lord for help. When the Israelites cried out to the Lord because of Midian, that is the Lord. Remember, the Lord is Jesus, but the Lord is God, the Creator. He sent them a prophet who said, "This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. I brought you up out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. I rescued you from the hand of the Egyptians, and I delivered you from the hand of all your oppressors. I drove them out before you and gave you their land. I said to you, I am the Lord your God. Do not worship the gods of the Amorites in whose land you live, but you have not listened to me." The angel of the Lord. So this prophet, of course, is Gideon. The angel of the Lord. Remember, the angel of the Lord. He appeared, or appears. How would I know? Wait a minute. Sometimes if you see a tornado, that could be symbolically the angel of the Lord. He looks like a tornado of cloud, a pillar of cloud, they used to call it. And he came and came and he made himself look like a human being. Because these angels, we need to reclaim the word angel. It is true, an angel is a woman, like a beautiful, kind woman. But an angel also means like a messenger, angelos, of God, of the Lord. But I call them kadosh, malakim. Kadosh means holy, and malakim is another name for. This is Hebrew, the language that Jewish speak. But shouldn't Jewish people speak Jew? Because Hebrews speak Hebrew. That's what. There's a book in this Bible called Hebrews. But Malakim means something like messenger, servant. Remember, servants are like Darth Vader that say, "Yes, my Lord, it shall be done." But these Kadosh Malakim, these holy angel warriors or holy angels, they're both male and female. They are very powerful beings, and they're higher than human beings, But did you ever see the movie Soul? It is a cartoon movie called Soul, and the star is an African-American music teacher who somehow, I think he almost dies, but he goes to this place. It's like heaven, and there are all these souls that have not been born yet. They sound and look like, little children. Now, what were those things that babysit those guys? They seem very powerful and intelligent and funny. Those are like holy angels, holy angel warriors, Kadosh Malakim. You have to check it out. It's a cartoon movie called Soul, Soul. I will include a picture of. Hopefully, I can put a quick picture of, of a scene from that movie. It is a movie from the year 2020, and it's very funny. I think many of you have seen it. It was produced by Pixar, and it was a Walt Disney movie. Oh, Jamie Foxx provided the voice for the main cartoon character, Jamie Foxx. All right, let's return to the reading. So one of these Kadosh Malakim, you have to remember they're like that. Those they're not babysitters, They taught and they told those souls what to do. They're very nice, very powerful. If any danger started to come towards that place, it would have to turn into something, scary, and destroy it, destroy it. So he came, and this angel of the Lord, he made himself look like a human. Remember, those guys could disappear. And sat down under the oak in Ophrah that belonged to Joash, the Abiezrite, where his son Gideon was threshing wheat in a winepress to keep it from the Midianites, so he's hiding his food. When the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, he said, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." "Pardon me, my Lord," Gideon replied, "but if the Lord, that is the Lord our God, who, of course, spoiler alert, it is Jesus. And that is God the Creator. But if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? Why don't we have food, and we are being invaded by these Midianites and Amalekites, and they are making our life terrible? Where are all his wonders that our ancestors told us about when they said, did not the Lord, bring us up out of Egypt? So, people think there's a phrase, signs and wonders. People think that, someone like Moses, a powerful prophet, will show you signs and wonders. And you'll be amazed, like, whoa, and you'll clap your hands. You have to read very carefully here. Gideon is asking, where are these wonders? And then he makes a reference to the Lord, freeing the Israelites a long time ago from Pharaoh and Egypt. But you have to remember what happened. There are these 10 plagues. There were these 10 punishments, on Pharaoh and all the people of Egypt, especially the higher class, like the rulers. Pharaoh is like the highest person, and then he has a bunch of rulers that help him rule, and there are a bunch of riches. There were these 10 wonders, I guess they're called, punishments. So, some of you are more advanced in readings. When you hear of signs and wonders, it's not a good thing. When a prophet shows you a sign, remember Moses, again, a lot of people have heard of Moses. He would show 2 signs. He would take a staff, he had like a long stick. A lot of you know what a staff is, and he would throw it down on the ground, and it would turn to a snake. That's kind of scary, Staff turned into a snake. And then the other thing he would do is take his hand and put it into his shirt, sort of, and then pull it out, and it was all diseased with white. It was like his hand became skin diseased, and then put it in his shirt again, disappear, and his hand looks normal again. So what do you think that means? It's like, I will do this to you, Do you see what I could do with my stick? I'll throw it down. And I become this gross... I think a snake is a reptile. It's not an amphibian. It's a reptile, So, that's... These prophets, they were mean, they were warriors. So, you see... In the past, people were more... They were meaner, and they carried swords, and they would fight each other and kill each other, like in the streets, So when they saw that, what are you saying to me? You will change me into like a dog, Whoa, okay, I won't mess with you. You could change your stick into a snake. This is some kind of magician guy, Just slowly back away from it. And then when he does that to his hand, he's like, see what I could do to you, Someone wants to fight him, like, I will just go kablam, and then the guy was like, what happened to my skin? There could be skin disease, or there could be sores, or cuts all over him, bloody. That shouldn't have messed around with Moses. Those are the signs. And then these wonders were all these plagues, like the plague of water turning into blood, the plague of frogs appearing out of nowhere, like So many frogs jumping all over everywhere. Coming into my house and jumping on my man. Get off me. You know, those are wonders. So they're not nice, you know, against the enemies of the Lord. But now the Lord has abandoned us and given us into the hand of Midian. The Lord turned to him and said, "Go in the strength you have and save Israel out of Midian's hand. Am I not sending you?" So I mentioned that people back then talked differently. When the Lord said to Moses, or then Moses' replacement, you know, was Joshua. He said, "Do not be afraid." It didn't mean like, no, don't be afraid. It meant something like, do not hold back, you know. When you go out to fight, do not hold back. I want you to just give it all you got, you know. Destroy and smite, you know. And kill. So am I not sending you? He's not literally asking Gideon, am I sending you? And then Gideon might be like, yes? No. He's saying, I'm sending you now. Pardon me, my lord, Gideon replied. But how can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest in Manasseh. So his clan is not weak. What he's saying is his clan doesn't have a lot of people. My clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my family. Okay, he is the least, so he is the youngest, not he has the least money. You know, he's not saying I am the poorest in my family. He is probably the youngest child in his family. I think the way it works was that the older children had more people with them. Like, you know, sometimes you can have a right-hand man, you know, or a left-hand man, you know. So you got two people as your homie managers. So his older brothers, you know, they would have like 5 homie managers. You know, they're his buds, his homies, and they're his managers, or like his colonels and captains. You know, if we're talking in military speak. So he's younger, so he doesn't have as many people to be his right hand man or right hand people or left hand man or left hand people, you know. So when he starts to put together his army, he doesn't already have that many people that he can trust and make his like colonels and captains and lieutenants. So this is verse 16. The Lord answered, I will be with you, and you will strike down all the Midianites, leaving none alive. Gideon replied, If now I have found favor in your eyes, give me a sign that it is really you talking to me. So you have to remember that God, right? The Lord, that is Jesus. You know, this is a spoiler alert because Jesus is like a first name, you know. At this point, the Lord, he was more like a father. You know, sometimes you ask a very young child, you know, you have a dad, right? And he's like, yeah, of course. What's your dad's name? And they're like, Dad? I just call him Dad. Okay, wait, my last name is like Jones, for example. Okay, I know my name, but I'm saying a very young child. You know, okay, he's Mr. Jones, but I don't call him Mr. Jones. I just call him Dad or Daddy. You know, so like at this point in time, the Lord, you know, he is the boss. The Lord is like You know, from watching Star Wars, you know what a lord is. You know, he is boss, the boss. You know, he's the big guy upstairs, so to speak. But he is like a father. It hasn't been revealed yet. You know that God is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. But Jesus really is his first name. So, like, we don't know his first name yet. We're like, okay, he's like a dad, but, you know, we're like very young children. You know, it's like, you have to think of humanity and, like, how long have we been hanging with God? And then some people might say a long time. But you have to remember, God is very old, and he is like this eternal being, you know. Like 1,000 years is nothing to him. It's like a split second, you know. He's so patient, you know. And then we don't live very long, you know. But we have, you know, generation after generation, and we keep historical records, you know. So as humanity or mankind, you know, we have known God, the Lord, for a long time. And then finally he's like, oh, by the way, mankind, my kids, you know, my first name is Jesus. Right? You know, that comes 2,000 years ago. But the Lord answered, I will be with you. So you guys will kill all of the Midianites. So God likes Gideon. You know, he sent one of his Kadosh Malakim to be there. You know what I mean? Like, let's say I'm starting to respect you, you know. I want you to meet one of my associates. You know what I mean? I want you to meet one of my associates. One of my right hand people. You know. For some of you who speak Spanish, like one of my segundos, you know, secundus. Kadosh Malakim, you know, meet one of my trusted associates. Gideon is thrilled, you know. I get to kill them all? I can't believe it. When he's asking for a sign, he's like, you must be my good God. You know, show me something. You know, some children, they're thrilled, you know, when their dads do something strong, like, yeah, look how strong dad is, you know. So I think here Gideon is asking God to show off, you know. Show me something, you know. Because let's say you have a dad who can bench press like 800 pounds, you know. And your mother tells you, your dad can bench press 800 pounds. And you're like, I believe you. But then one day, you know, you go to the gym and you actually see the guy. 800 pounds is a lot of weight. You gotta watch a YouTube video of power lifters, and then you'll be in disbelief. I can't believe this, you know. My dad is bench pressing all of that. And then you become sort of proud of your dad, right? You know he's strong. So I think that Gideon is asking the Lord, God, you know, to show off. Show me something. Show me some power, you know. Please, you know. Do not go away. You know, show me a sign. Show me that this is a sign in a good way. Show me that it's you, you know. Show me some power, you know. But wait, hold on. Please do not go away until I come back and bring my offering and set it before you. So people back then were very hospitable, you know. Gideon knows that the Kodosh Malakim is right there, and God is right there. God doesn't eat, so he's being very cold. Like, this is one of God's right-hand men, and then he's going to show hospitality. He looks like human to me, you know. I'm gonna bring my offering, you know, which is food, you know. I mean, like, if I come to your house, you're gonna give me a beer, maybe break out some nacho chips. And the Lord said, I will wait until you return. Gideon went inside, prepared a young goat, and from an ephah of flour, he made bread without yeast. He didn't make it. He had a wife or a girlfriend or servants, or they just say he made it. He didn't make it. Putting the meat in a basket and its broth in a pot. So he has people make it, and then he brought it to the Kadosh Malakim, his visitor. Brought them out and offered them to him under the oak. So he's like, I offer it to you. Of course it's a, you got to think, there's sometimes when you play chess, you got to think, you got to be able to predict, think a few moves ahead, right? You have to think, there's something called dimensions. There's also, you could play chess, but you can play it at a different dimension, I heard, too. There's 2 floors to a building, right? First floor and second floor. I think you could play chess, and then there's another board up here. So to really understand, what he's bringing is an offering to God, right? I'm bringing you your best as a form of worship. And then at the same time, he's being hospitable to one of God's right-hand men, the Kadosh Malakim, these powerful, holy angel warriors. He's being hospitable. He wants to see him eat, The angel of God. That's his title. The angel of God. So here's another dude. It is bizarre. You have to watch a movie with special effects. Because I thought it was the angel of the Lord. The angel of the Lord is a pillar of cloud. The angel of God is a pillar of fire. They're like twins, maybe. Maybe they always move together. Have you seen twins? It's odd, because I'm not a twin, but they really share a brain. I mean, they're always walking around together, side by side sometimes. I had a friend named Amit, and then he had twin sisters, Duduma and Duduma. I think her name was Jasmine, Jasmine and Duduma. And they would jog together, side by side, They looked the same, and they would go jogging together, and then, it'd be as they jog, it's right, left, two of them jogging together. But I'm not making fun of Kadosh Malakim, but it's possible that they're not twins, biological twins, but I think that the angel of the Lord and the angel of God, they are like twins, they're just, if you see one, the other one's not far away. So now the angel of God appears, there must be 2 of them, or one came, right, and then, here comes the other one left, I don't know how it works. Said to him, take the meat. Remember, this dude is a pillar of fire. Take the meat. But now he also looks like a human being, But they actually could look like twins, Gideon may not have noticed, The angel of the Lord was there, and then he went to prepare the meal, and then he was replaced by his twin, the angel of God. It's hi. You know what I mean? It was a different dude, but they look inhuman. When they wanted to look like human being, maybe they looked almost alike. Take the meat. But you can see here in verse 20, now it's the angel of God. It makes a difference. The angel the Lord, or angel of the Lord, angel of God. That is a secret. Religious, spiritual key. It's like a key. It's a secret or a key. You have to be very careful to read like the title. If it looks like a name of God, or like a title, some kind of religious spiritual title, and if the word is different, usually it's a different person. God has many names. God has like 1,000 titles and names, but everyone else, they usually only have like one or two names. Joshua, Yehoshua, right? He only had one name, but Jacob, he had two names, right? Jacob or Israel. So he said, take the meat. The angel of God said this, and the unleavened bread. So this is bread without yeast. Place them on this rock and pour out the broth. And Gideon did so. Then the angel of the Lord. So this is the other guy. So I think there are two of them. They must look very similar. Spoiler alert. Later on, Jesus, when the Lord comes as the God-man, God in the flesh, he has these apostles and disciples, and he always sends them out. Like, I want you to go, Darth Vader's, he's the powerful good emperor. I want you to go do something as I order. But, they are like generals, but he always sends them out 2 by 2. So now the angel of the Lord, he touches the meat and the unleavened bread with the tip of the staff that was in his hand. Fire flared up from the rock, consuming the meat and the bread. So this, when he looked, they must be two of them. One just takes his stick and just, ding, like touches what he had to offer, the meat and the bread, and then it just lit on fire. And then those two things disappeared. In a few seconds, there was this fire, and it was all burned up. And, where'd it go, And the angel of the Lord disappeared. So he must have appeared, and then, you know what I'm saying? You ever see twins, or like, they just like, hold still, Sometimes they move around, and then then it's this one, and then there's two of them, and this guy will take off, and this guy comes, and then he's him, and then he takes off. I think this is what's happening here. There's the angel of the Lord, and then the angel of God, and then I think the angel of God was there, and then the angel of the Lord just teleports in, and then he like, ding, like burns the offering up. I guess that's their way of eating food. They just look at it and touch it like that, and then it lights on fire, it disappears. He's like, oh, thank you, yum yum, And then he disappeared. And then, I'm busy, see you later. And the angel of the Lord disappeared. And then when Gideon realized that it was the angel of the Lord, he exclaimed, alas, sovereign Lord, I have seen the angel of the Lord face to face. But the Lord said to him, "Peace, do not be afraid. You are not going to die." So remember, you cannot, the rule is you cannot see God's face and live. So he's like, "Oh, I'm going to die." But the Lord, he's a good God. He's, "Oh, okay, don't worry about it. You won't die, you won't die. So if anyone happens to see God's face, they're dead, man. In 5 minutes, they'll die. So Gideon built an altar to the Lord there and called it, "The Lord is Peace." Shalom. It's probably Adonai Shalom. To this day, it stands in Ophrah of the Abiezrites. That same night, the Lord said to him, "Take the second bull from your father's herd, the one 7 years old. Tear down your father's altar to Baal or Baal and cut down the Asherah pole beside it. Then build a proper kind of altar to the Lord your God on the top of this height, using the wood of the Asherah pole that you cut down. Offer the second bull as a burnt offering." So Gideon took 10 of his servants and did as the Lord told him. But because he was afraid of his family and the townspeople, he did it at night rather than in the daytime. So he wasn't afraid. He was afraid they would not understand. So he shows some wisdom, Rather than have to explain himself, he just did it quietly. In the morning, when the people of the town got up, there was Baal or Baal's altar demolished, with the Asherah pole beside it cut down, and the second bull sacrificed on a newly built altar. They asked each other, "Who did this?" when they carefully investigated. Remember, the altar's cool because a Kadosh Malakim, lit an offering, the sacrifice himself. In the past, remember, there was Moses and his brother, but there were priests, and the priests would take the sacrifice, right, and then they would be the ones to light it up and move it around, offer it. But here, a Kadosh Malakim, lit it himself. So Kadosh Malakim are also like higher priests. They really must be. So there's an altar that a Kadosh Malakim actually lit. The sacrifice special. They asked each other, "Who did this?" When they carefully investigated, they were told, "Gideon, son of Joash, did it." They're like, "This is a cool altar, New, it's they never seen it before. Oh, we had a old Baal altar. Whoa, who made like a new altar for us? It's kind of like if you have a old busted barbecue grill, and then someone brings in like a new fancy one, bigger, with all these like new, like there's some really nice barbecue grills out there, but what if you have an old one, that's like the Baal's altar, and then just because Gideon built the altar doesn't mean that he didn't build a nice one, put a lot of work into it, did it really fast, and look cooler. So what if someone brought in a new, big, cool-looking barbecue grill, and then the Baal's altar is like this cheap, those like $80, $90 barbecue grills, you know what I mean? The ones that are only like, they're the ones that are only like 3.5 feet long, those cheap ones. So the people of the town demanded of Joash, "Bring out your son, he must die because he has broken down Baal's altar and cut down the Asherah pole beside it. So sometimes people are like that. They like the new one. Actually, I like what Gideon did, but they don't like change. And then we're talking about religious stuff, so they're like, he must die. But Joash replied to the hostile crowd around him, are you going to plead Baal's cause? What he's saying is like, you really like the old busted barbecue grill? I'm giving you a way to understand it, but it probably is close, something like that. Are you trying to save him? Whoever fights for him shall be put to death by morning. So Joash, this is Gideon's father, he's getting, angry. Like, I'm going to back my son up. And you're saying you're going to kill my son? He's saying, if you fight for the old busted barbecue grill, for example, if you fight for Baal, I'm going to kill you by morning. If Baal or Baal really is a god, he can defend himself when someone breaks down his altar. So because Gideon broke down Baal or Baal's altar, they gave him the name Jerub Baal that day, saying, let Baal contend with him. Now, all the Midianites, Amalekites, and other eastern peoples joined forces and crossed over the Jordan and camped in the valley of Jezreel. Then the Spirit of the Lord came on Gideon, and he blew a trumpet, summoning the Abiezrites to follow him. He sent messengers throughout Manasseh, calling them to arms, and also into Asher, Zebulun, and Naphtali, so that they too went up to meet him. Gideon said to God, if you will save Israel by my hand, as you have promised, look, I will place a wool fleece on the threshing floor. If there is dew only on the fleece and all the ground is dry, then I will know that you will save Israel by my hand, as you said. And this is what happened. Gideon rose early the next day. He squeezed the fleece and wrung out the dew, a bowl full of water. Then Gideon said to God, do not be angry with me. Let me make just one more request. Allow me one more test with the fleece, but this time make the fleece dry and let the ground be covered with dew. That night God did so. Only the fleece was dry. All the ground was covered with dew. So, Gideon's like, I need God to show off again, 2 more times. So God, the Lord showed off to Gideon, showed him power or like something supernatural 3 times. Thank you for listening. Keep God first. He'll take you places.